historic neighborhood called Pemberton Heights. Come on in. Welcome to the foyer of our home. The first element that I'm going to point out, because I think that it ties the entire house together, is our painted floor. We refinished all of the hardwood floors when we bought this house in 2019 and renovated it, and we knew that we needed a statement right when you walked in the house. Our designer, Kristen Nigg, suggested a painted floor, which is a bit of an old school technique, but we had 3 people here on their hands and knees when we were redoing the house, painting this by hand. And it's got some nicks and scratches in it because the kids play in here all the time, but I think it makes the house, and you'll see that the blue really ties the entire house together because we've used that blue in almost every single room. I'll also point out this beautiful console that Kristen helped us source from an antique store in Houston. And we really wanted to bring, again, that old school traditional charm into the home with some modern elements. And I love how we've played with colors here. We have the olive green in the chairs that flank the console. We've got this kind of modern olive green ottoman that tucks in here. And then we've got, of course, the beautiful chinoiserie vases. I always love fresh flowers on this table. And then what's cool is this modern kind of Art Deco feeling mirror that again gives the feel of a mix of traditional and modern. So it's a very fresh feeling space. This is our formal living room. It's right off the foyer, right as you enter our home. And it's probably the most sophisticated space of our entire house. We were really going for that California cool, kind of neutral chic feeling. Lots of neutral earth tones in here with pops of blue to tie it back to the painted floor. I love this brown table that is kind of the focal point of the room right when you walk in. And Kristen encouraged us to go for a big pop of yellow flowers, which really sets the space off. This is an interesting element. I actually found this cool Federalist mirror at an antique fair in the Hamptons a few summers ago. It was a steal and I somehow got it back even though it was almost falling apart, and I think it just really makes the space. We have this bold blue sofa over here, which we've had for several years. We actually had it at our last home, and it's got white tape trim around it. And again, it just gives this room, which is very neutral, a pop of color. It's unexpected, it's fun, along with the animal print pillows on the sofa. And then I'm going to point out the piece of art above the sofa I created specifically for this space. It feels a little different than a lot of my work because it's a little more masculine with the blacks and the neutrals in it, but I love how it's big and blue and bold. And we've installed an art light above it, which I think is a pro tip for anyone installing art. If you can hang a light and wire it behind, it really gives the art not only extra light and allows you to see the art better, but it looks very, very chic and sophisticated. I love our painted abstract Bunny Williams lamps. I actually changed out the shades with some vintage shades. They're scalloped that I found on Etsy for a complete steal. And in my mind, this room is all about the details. So I've collected things like this chinoiserie box. Always love a touch of black in a room like this. An old Hermes ashtray that we've had forever. I love plants and vases and lots of things that feel very collected and detailed. This is our formal dining room, and it's right off of the foyer. So the living room is on one side of the foyer and the dining room is on the other side of the foyer right when you walk in, a very traditional classic layout. And we didn't have a formal dining room in our last house, so I was so excited to have one in this house. We love to entertain. I love to throw dinner parties and to create tablescapes. As you can see, I've got the table all set up. Right now, I love using block print tablecloths and linens. These happen to be by Julia Amory. Love creating flower arrangements. And what's really fun about this room is that it's very, very feminine. I live in a house of boys. We have 3 little boys. I have a husband, I have a boy dog, and I needed a space that was pink and pretty and felt like I was in the middle of a garden. So this wallpaper is made by Schumacher, and it's actually not hand painted, but it's made to look like the beautiful hand painted wall coverings by Gracie and Desgournay, and for a fraction of the price, but still makes a beautiful statement. If you look at the ceiling, this is probably my favorite, more modern touch of the space. We've installed a sage green lacquered wall covering on the ceiling that looks like lacquered paint, but it's actually a wall covering. It's by Philip Jeffries, and it adds light and dimension in this room, and it gives it interest. Welcome to our casual family room. This is probably the space where my family spends the most time. Come on in. The first thing I'll point out in here is this fabulous antelope rug. It really grounds the space, and it's very kid-friendly because it disguises a lot of the mess, given that it's tones of brown. Over here, we've got a coral sectional, which at first I was a little hesitant to go this bold, but our designer, Kristen Nix, really encouraged us to make a statement in this space. It feels very southern and fresh. It's one solid color, and then we've got the fun pops of blue and kind of an ecru color in the pillows on the sectional. The artwork above the sectional is actually done by yours truly. I created these custom collages to specifically go above the sectional, and they pull in the tones of coral and blue, and I've added a little pop of lime green. And I really love how this room feels traditional yet fresh and modern at the same time, and I think that artwork can really help with that. You'll see here we've got a mirrored octagonal coffee table. What I love about this piece is that it reflects light. We don't have any windows in this space, so it really adds that pop of light that we were lacking. And it's also an interesting shape. A lot of times you'll see coffee tables in just a round shape or a rectangle, and the octagon shape gives it some extra interest. And then if you look inside of here, you can see we've painted the inside this fun blue color. And to me, it's all about the details. Details make the space, and I think when you're sitting here in this room, you start to notice little details like that. This is our kitchen, and it's definitely the heart of the home. I'd like to point out first our butcher block island, probably my favorite focal point of this entire space. When we renovated our home in 2019, we were lucky in that we didn't have to change a lot of structure in this space. The structure was really good and it worked for our family, but we did update a lot of the surfaces. The butcher block gives that old school English feeling. It gets a little scratched up, but that just adds to the fun patina of it all. And as you can see, the backsplash here is a solid marble slab, which gives a really nice clean feeling. And then if you look over here to my right, this space didn't exist when we acquired the home, but we knew we wanted a fun, fresh bar that was very accessible when we were entertaining. And we installed, again, an antiqued mirrored backsplash, which is one of my favorite tricks to add light to a space. And again, because it's antiqued, gives that fun old school feeling. And just over here to my right is our powder room, which I will point out just because it's fabulous. Take a look in here. We've used this really fun quadrille coral wallpaper. We've got a gold mirror and it's scalloped. And then we've installed this commode here, which I love because it gives me a lot of storage. And then just a couple things I'll point out in the powder. I love art, and these are 3 pieces by 2 fabulous female artists. The top piece is Casey Hughes, and the bottom piece is Paige Fullman. And then the matching piece over here on the side is also Casey Hughes. And I just love supporting fabulous female artists. Okay, welcome to our sunroom. This is a space in the back of our home that was designed to be a sunroom or game room, but for this stage in our life is really just what we call the playroom. And we've elevated it a bit. I think that kids can live in beautiful spaces too by using a pattern on pattern quadrille print in both the sofa as well as the wall covering. So the entire wall covering is the same pattern as what's on the sofa. We've had this table from Oomph Home forever. It gives it a fun pop of blue. And as you can see, there's a teepee, we've got books. Normally there's toys everywhere. And one of the coolest parts of this entire space are these built-ins that we dreamt up when we were renovating the house. This entire area was just dead space, so we thought, well, if it's gonna be a playroom, it needs to have a spot for toys and games. So we've hidden them with these custom cabinetry fronts, and this is just plexiglass. So trying to be indestructible, but also beautiful at the same time. Let's come on upstairs and I'll show you the second half of our house. Let's go in and see the older boys' bedroom. This is where our 2 older sons, George and William, who are 4 and 6 years old right now, live and sleep. And they share a room. They started sharing a room about a year ago and they love it. It's a very Americana theme in here. As you can see, lots of red, white, and blue. Love the Miles red pattern here on the pillows. And the greatest thing about these beds is that they each have a trundle underneath. So when they're old enough to have slumber parties, they can have some friends spend the night here. We've got a great blue brass cloth dresser here. And then this is one of my favorite pieces of the entire room. I think it really is what started the idea of how we would design this room. It's an original vintage flag found on eBay for about $13 that I had mounted and framed. And it looks rugged and rustic, and it's perfect for little boys. So welcome to Andrew's nursery. It's certainly a nursery fit for our little prince. He's the baby of the family. And we used a blue and green scheme in here. I think it's really unique to kind of bring the blue and green together. A lot of nurseries I see are either blue or green or neutral, and it's fun to kind of mix it up. We have a pinstripe sage green wallpaper surrounding the space. And then on all of the moldings and shutters, we've used a paint called Garden Path by Benjamin Moore. I'd love to point out this bone inlay dresser and changing table. We've had it since our first child, William, was a baby, and it's very special to us. We've changed a lot of babies here, and it's beautiful and neutral while still having detail and interest. This chair is where we read books, and it's in a beautiful chambray color with the matching ottoman, and then the scalloped tape trim in white on the bottom. And one thing I'd love to point out, and it really surprises people, is this lamp over here. We found the base. It's a swing arm brass lamp from Target. And then the shade was sourced from an online source called oka.com. They make gorgeous and affordable block print lampshades, and it just pulls it together and gives it some more interest. Come on into our master bedroom. We've really taken the whole pattern on pattern element to a new level in this space. As you can see, we've used a neutral ground of the Arbor de Matisse quadrille wall covering and fabric to surround this entire space and make it feel like a very calming, soothing, warm cocoon. I joked my entire life that I dreamt of having a canopy bed and wanted to be the princess of the house, since I am in a house full of boys, and my dream came true. My husband agreed to sleep under a canopy bed, and we actually both love it. It feels so much like a warm hotel in here with this beautiful canopy, and then the interesting headboard back here that's in the same pattern. One thing I'll point out is I've always dreamt of having leonine linens, but haven't acquired them quite yet, maybe one day. So we love our Lands' End duvet cover and shams. It's ironless, you don't need to iron it. It looks great. And then I found this throw pillow, this bolster on Etsy, and had it monogrammed to try to achieve that look without the price tag, at least for now. We actually sourced these chairs on Facebook Marketplace and had them recovered in a beautiful brushed ivory velvet. And I love these intaglios that span this space. We had them in our last home, and they found a perfect home on this wall with the starburst mirror right in between them. I love our little Mark Sykes reading lamps here. They're swing arm lamps, and it's a great place to read or talk on the phone. We've tried to incorporate both modern and traditional touches in this space. So we've got our modern Ralph Lauren lamps and kind of our more modern or transitional white nightstands. And then as you'll see over here, we've got our old school Hendredon large dresser that is in brown furniture. It's that old school kind of brown furniture look, which I love. I love the mix. I love having a little bit of brown furniture, a little bit of modern white fresh furniture, and how that juxtaposition really works is what I love the most. Let's come on in now and see our master bathroom. When we renovated this space, it was a galley bathroom that really did not work functionally. So we opened up the entire space, and I think what's the coolest part about this space is how we've mirrored almost the entire room, the entire bathroom. We've enclosed the mirrors in marble moldings, which gives it that New York hotel feeling. We've used fixtures that are reminiscent of a New York hotel, very old school polished nickel, and we've installed sconces right on the mirror that feel very modern and chic. And we've used a basket weave marble floor, which again gives that feeling of a nice, clean, crisp New York hotel room. That concludes our tour for the day. Thank you so much to the Glam Pad for having us. We had so much fun. Brady and I say thank you, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks again.